my question for you is, can I and should I be hopeful over these negotiations?
Well, as we speak, Beijing and Washington are discussing trade options to find a way of granting more access to the Chinese market. To the extent that that is true, then that is self-evidently an encouraging sign. I mean, my view is not dissimilar to the former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, whom you just heard on that clip. I think there's a great danger in overstating the impact of these tariffs. For one thing, from an American perspective, aluminium and steel are no longer as important to US economic growth as they once were. Certainly, they're no longer as important as, say, the technology sectors. And from China's perspective, the tariffs will only have a very negligible impact. And China's response, as has already been made clear, has been fairly muted. It's just a few tit-for-tat tariff responses. So I think that all things considered, the market's response last Thursday when they fell on the Dow Jones Industrial Average by more than 700 points, that's as worse as it will get for the foreseeable future.
Now, it seems that Donald Trump is simply delivering on his a lot of his campaign promises, right? In this case, of course, he's appealing to the base. He's promised more fair trade. Do you get a sense that this actually creates the jobs lost in the Rust Belt in the United States? And if it doesn't create the jobs that is needed there, how quickly do we then see these protectionists, these barriers to trade get taken back down?
Well, the first point to bear in mind is that economic protectionism, economic nationalism, whether it be in the form of tariffs, import quotas or subsidies, they're bad public policy. They'll only increase the prices for American consumers. They won't rebuild industries in states where there is no longer a comparative advantage in certain sectors, and they're likely to spark a retaliatory response. Having said that, I think ultimately the goal here for Donald Trump is to appeal to his working class base, the white working class base in those Rust Belt states of Wyoming, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. More than likely those states are likely to vote for Democrat candidates, as they've done since the Reagan era. But Trump won those states. He owes those folks. So in many respects, here is Donald Trump keeping to an election pledge, just like he did when he withdrew the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership a year ago, and when he pulled out of the Paris Climate Accords. This is consistent with his election pledges, but I doubt very much that he will raise tariffs significantly higher than the 25% on Chinese steel.